Hey there! As the title suggests, we're going to be looking at the latest Paris Major and some of the top pickups for some of these teams that made some shocks. Some of these players I'm going to be talking about today are going to be the ones that your favourite teams must pick up if they want to be competitive going into Counter-Strike 2. Starting off, we've got, of course, Cypher. Cypher was this crazy entry player that was playing for Into the Breach, the British team. I bet against these guys at every step of the way. I didn't believe that they had enough experience to make it through, and they just kept on shocking, and it's in part because of this guy's relentless aggression. This W key charge headfirst against the wall, and it just kept working. The entry frags this guy was able to produce was insane. A fantastic event for the young Cypher here. And at the age of 20 as well, he's got a lot of years ahead of him. Counter-Strike 2 could be a really great game for him to make a name for himself. His statistics don't look amazing, but in the same way that Apex used to just make so much space for his teams in the earlier French teams, Cypher could be that next guy, definitely. And you can see by the way that they managed to make it to a quarter-final of this major. Now, shockingly as well, they were in that game against Vitality. If they had a little bit more leadership, perhaps a little bit more experience on the roster at the top level, obviously some of the players have been there before, some players like Ralin and Crucial and Thomas have been around the block, but if they had more experience at the top flight of Counter-Strike, these guys could have won. They had Vitality on the ropes when they were playing Vertigo. Honestly, if they just were able to react to a little bit more in the mid rounds, understand where they would be getting picked and their weaknesses, like the mental game was what really lost them that first map. And again, they were in that second map once more. They could have beaten Vitality, the eventual major winners. Crazy, and it's down to this guy. The next player we're looking at today is Boris. Boris, of course, made a huge announcement onto the world stage over in the Paris Major. This guy's mechanics were just insane. And if we have a look at how he performed at this major overall, those are some pretty nice statistics. I'm not a massive statistics guy, I think, but also if you look at how he played inside the game, his impact was just so noticeable. You felt it in every stage, and the statistics back it up in this situation. It was crucial in the game versus Na'Vi, the best of 3 that they won. The 16-2 has just absolutely dumpstered them. This guy just was endlessly putting up massive numbers. Unfortunately fell apart towards the quarterfinals, but hey, you're 19 years old, you've got a lot of experience. If you're a team like OG who needs to replace Flames, who's going to be exploring end of contract, then this is a guy I definitely want to look at. Same with Cypher. These guys definitely, you want to be looking at like a Mouse, an OG. There's no way these guys end up on like a FaZe or a G2. It's way too early for them. Way too early. Yeah, you chucking young players into the wood chipper like that, and then that's just going to fuck them. You could also see North America as an option. Complexity needs some more firepower. A young guy like this could be good. There is worries he might break a player like that as he goes over. EG just seems to chuck money everywhere. Maybe actually buy some good talent. That would be really good. You love a good talent pipeline. Shout out to Chevron. Man, EG just catching strays for no reason. But anyway, Boris, fantastic talent. Love to see him going somewhere soon. Of course, one of the most obvious players that's going to end up on this list, Imma or Im or however you want to call it. This guy had one of the greatest major debuts, and I'm not going to lie, again, Game Legion were in those games against Vitality. He was on an absolute fucking tear. Good effort from this guy. Just look at those statistics across the board. Absolutely disgusting. And his impact was just crazy. Some of the spray downs he was able to get, some of the picks he was able to find. He looked like a really solid rifler. I'd love to see this guy make it onto a better lineup. Game Legion, sure, they've done really well. They've got a lovely core, but there are just some constituent parts that I think just aren't good enough, really. I'm not sure Game Legion really have the money to keep these players locked down. I'm not sure if they have the firepower to make sure that they could do this again. They have some great players, including the IGL Suhi, who might be coming up later. He's coming up next. But these two players and Imma as the star, absolutely fantastic. I'd love to see him make a move, maybe onto a team like a Fnatic or a Mouse once again. Mouse obviously just mega struggling. But yeah, maybe like a Fnatic, get some young, replace Fasher with this guy and shuffle some of the roles. And that could be beginning to be a half decent team. And if we combine that with our second player, Suhi, as well, which I'm just going to drag onto screen. Suhi had a wonderful event too. He's had some experience. He played with the Na'Vi, the Malice guys as well, right? As a young IGL, just mega respectful. In the games against Heroic, his calling was just so good. The first match, like, he looked really outsmarted. I was worried. I watched that first game and I was like, no, Suhi hasn't got the balls for this. But he was integral to the Inferno comeback, and he was able to stay on par with KD when it comes to making the correct calls, and then he managed to get the best out of his star players, and that's something you can say. The players on this team, like some of them are half decent. I don't mind Isaac Acor as well. That he's not terrible. He's a good player. But the level of performances he was able to get out of these guys to make it to the major is just insane. All of his stars were just like constantly firing, and I think you have to put it down to the IGL. You've obviously made quite a comfortable environment for these guys to strive, and it's fantastic. So I'd love to see Imar and Suhi make their way off of this Game of Legion lineup together, perhaps. I mean, fantastic. Maybe this is an Alexi B Sergey kind of moment where like Sergey was a top 5 rifler, and then after Alexi B left, we just haven't seen this guy again. Like, he's still playing. Sergey, the latest, the start from Ents is still in the game. He's playing on the Eyeballers lineup or Gorillas lineup with like Flashery and such. So maybe Sui's able to whisper into the ear. He can find a little way to get Imma up. Irregardless, I'd love to see both those guys. Again, Mouse Sports, they're in fucking dire trouble. They bombed out of this major. Absolutely shocking. I think Dexter's story has come to an end. It's time for him to move on. Again, OG, they need a rework. Fnatic, if you were to bring in Suhi and Imma for Fasher and, I don't know, I mean, Roy maybe, and you have the entry fragging of Imma. You put Mezzi as that second follow-up entry, and then you give the IGLing back to Suhi, because Mezzi is the best player on that fucking Fnatic roster. Like Nico Dos as your AWPer, then like he's not great, but that's not terrible. I would say that's a better lineup than this Game of Legion one. I think you've got more longevity, especially with the experience of Crims there, and that might help you. I could see that roster doing some good work. You get back to top 10 again. You'll be more consistent than this Game of Legion roster, because I don't see them staying together, A, and B, being able to continue this run. The final player we're going to be talking about is Flames. Now, Flames has just announced that he's going to be exploring options at the end of his contract, which is massive, because this guy is insane. Again, another young player. He's 19 years old. Statistics are a little bit misleading for this one, if we have a look. Because there are a lot of oranges. They don't look great, and this is why I say you don't trust the statistics, because OG bombed out. They didn't have an IGL at this event. They had Nico standing in as their IGL, and he's not an IGL. He's just got a little bit of experiences. And although, as you can see, they only played one mapper versus a top 10 opponent, they shit the bed. And that top 10 opponent was Ents. Ents also bombed out, and this guy is Mr. Consistent. His rifling has just got really, really good. He spent a lot of time on this OG lineup. It's almost 2 years. Like, he joined in like 2021, and it's time for him to move on. Definitely, he's grown, and I think his rifling mechanics are just super good. His fundamentals are pretty consistent these days as well. I absolutely love this guy. I think he truly could be another star. I'm surprised that guys like Boris, Cypher, and Imma had such impact at this event, even in some of their dysfunctional lineups, and Flames wasn't able to. But all of those guys had a leadership figure of some sort. So Boris had Sundai Young, Imma had Tsui, who's also, he's done the rounds with the We Play Academy. Cypher had Ralen on his team, who's like he played at like the first major as well, and a crucial. They've played lots and lots of games, but for a team like a team like OG, unfortunately, so many disparate parts on there. You've got like a fantastic AWPer in the form of Dexter, who did fucking crazy work at this event, and between him and Flames almost carried them, but unfortunately they just got a bad look at the draw. I mean, look who they had to play. They played Ents. Their one win was against Mouse. They played against NIP, who went on to the next stage, and then they lost to the major finalist of Game Legion in their best of 3. And his numbers are good again. Like, there's some good numbers there, and his impact in the rounds in the games have also been solid. So I'd love to see this guy have another chance. I think there's obviously some issues over at OG. I think he could get out to somewhere. Again, I'd be looking at your Fanatics, these second tier teams where they are like on the cusp of breaking into top 10. Again, take him over to Mouse. There's some good constituent parts. There's some good people there who will be able to support this guy. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all. You hear me mentioning a lot of the same teams, mainly because I don't want these guys necessarily to go to North America, because North America just fucking breaks young talent. Yakinda had a really, really good event, but also there's so many like weird stories about how he's managing his time over in Liquid. It's really struggling with the lack of leadership over there, having to take on a lot of his responsibilities there. I don't know how much of that is just his own hubris, but I wouldn't recommend players such as this caliber to be going over to North America right now, because it just seems like a poison chalice. There's so many issues over there. Those are my 5 top picks. There are a couple other team players I think that we should look at as well, but I don't know how likely it is to be able to get these guys because they've been on rosters for a while, or they probably have high buyouts. One of those players was Zorti from Forza. Forza, a bit of a fuck up at this event as well, actually, unfortunately, because they're not a bad team. They're not a bad team at all, and they just dropped the ball, unfortunately. This guy did everything he fucking could to get this team across the line. He played out of his fucking mind. The statistics, again, for those of you who love statistics, back it up. I mean, look at them. They're absolutely gorgeous. And as an AWPer as well, I mean, there's an endless amount of fucking talent coming from Russia, especially in the AWPing department. This guy was absolutely nuts. There are so many teams who could benefit from a good AWPer right now. This is a guy who I would say, man, if you put this guy instead of OC on Liquid, oh, I don't know what his English is like, but fuck me, I'd love that. A truly young, talented AWPer with the parts such as Yakinda, Naf, and a Liege around him. I mean, I don't know what the fuck's happening with Nitro, but we'll see what happens there. Irregardless, man, the firepower you would have, give this guy just a little bit of space to keep on working, because he proved that, when the fucking chips are down, he went fucking balls to the wall. This guy was nuts. He tried everything. I mean, look, the win against Liquid there is gorgeous. 31 kills, fucking crazy. Impact from an AWPer as well. Like, you can't undervalue the impact of having a good AWPer on your squad. And this guy is one of the hot prospects. He's also really young as well. I mean, this classic. Access denied. What? You're being... What the fuck? Has banned you temporarily from accessing. Anyway, next guy is Dexter. Talking about AWPers who have massive output and impact at majors, this guy, it's the same fucking story. Also, it's crazy that he's 21 years old. That is nuts. This guy feels like he's been around for days, been around for years. This guy is fucking crazy. And again, for you stat whores out there, like, they look pretty good from an AWPer. My god, did he try everything once again. I absolutely love this guy. I think he's the best thing since sliced bread. It's nuts that the AWPers that made it into the later stages of this event, like, your top AWPers were Zywoo. Yeah, okay. Brokey. Okay, yeah, he's pretty good. He's been, like, Mr. Consistent. He's a stat whore too. Yeah, maybe this is a time to share my feelings about Brokey. Who else we got? Acor made a major final. Cadian as the primary AWPer. Okay. Who else we got? Warrow 2K. Fuck me, guys. Who's the AWPer for Apex? I can't even remember. They just fucking semi-final. OC, like, come on. This guy is better than half of those AWPers. Like, he's up there. Honestly, I would put him in a top 3 in that contest. I would say he's almost better than Brokey as well. That's a bit controversial, perhaps, in your mind. If it is, let me down in the comments. I'm willing to argue. I think Dexter's better. This guy's insane. Unfortunately, though, much like Zorti has been on the Forza team for years now, like since 2021. I think he joined January 2021, so he's been there for a long time. I don't know how attached he is to that lineup and how, we know some of the stories about how those players get locked contracts in the CIS. Dexter as well has been there for a long time. That was his big move post Spirit, where they got the semi-final of the major after they left that. Or maybe it was the year they got the quarterfinal. Irregardless, Dexter left, and his big money move to a lineup was OG. They landed him there, and I imagine they got him locked down to a half-decent contract, because that's what you got to do with a player of this caliber. At the age of 21, this guy has years left in him. I think he could be a fucking fantastic piece. And again, you cannot overvalue the price of an AWPer who gets you consistent impact, consistent frags in a game. Because at the top level, at the moment, it's such a clusterfuck of teams at the moment where the fundamentals are just wrong and so poor in certain places that a guy who's just going to be able to not only get you the consistent frags, but take over a game if he needs to, you can't put a price on that. Hey, these are these top 5 or 7 in this case players I think who really stood out for me at the major, who aren't on those top teams. If you have a favorite team out there, if you're one of your top dog squads failed to live up to expectations, these are the players that I think would be grand pickups for you. So make sure you tell your squads about these players. Go tweet your favorite teams and say, hey, these guys need to be picked up. I really hope that these guys get a move. I would hate to see these guys stay on their current rosters, because in the current state, apart from perhaps Dexter and on OG, because I feel like they are willing to make a big change, I think the rest of these guys need to make a move, because I don't have any track record that shows that the teams that they're on are going to be able to support them and necessarily give them the financial backing to make them build up a squad around those guys. So I'd love to see someone else with a little bit of moolah to come and pick up some of these guys. Irregardless, let me know what you think. Were there any other players you think that I should have mentioned? Were there any other standout young players that could make a big move? What do you think about my opinion on North American and young talent? Do you reckon young talent should be looking at North America as an option to progress their careers? And all down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure you do the like and subscribe as well. Like, the engagement is crucial for YouTube these days. With the fucking wild and wonderful way that this algorithm works, it's really important that just like any likes, comments, and all that good stuff basically get done. I'd love to see some more of that. Irregardless, have a good day. Thank you very much.